Hello there and welcome back to that time of the month again where we do a wishlist update. So I specifically waited for Sinbad banner to finish to put him in the wishlist. So this is my current wishlist on my main account, and because I have quite a lot of units built up to the Supreme Plus tier, some of these units are on my list because I want to push them to the Paragon tier. But let's say if you are new to the game or if you are having a less developed account, then you can actually follow some of the advices which I'm going to give in this video. Okay, so for the light bearer S level side, Rowan, Cassidy as well as Atlanta, they can be found within the shop. So the S level unit that you want for the light bearer side will always be these two for now until either Shonya or Luca come out, although I think Luca is actually a A level character. So these two characters, Tamasia and Vala, they are like the better characters for the game right now. So Vala is generally very strong in PvP as well as for bossing purposes. For Tamasia, more for AFK stage pushing and certain bosses, right, which requires mobility. So decent. Obviously light bearer of being the weaker class doesn't have much of a choice. If right you want to use Rowan for your light bearer factional talent, or use Rowan to have an easier time to push through the harder stages of the AFK stage itself, getting early copies of Rowan is pretty decent. You don't need him at Supreme Plus, but if you can get him to a decent tier where you unlock the Mega Potion from the EX weapon itself, you will have a much easier time pushing AFK stages. So that's why I recommend putting him here if you want to have an easier time for your AFK stage or just want to try to use Rowan for the PvP side of things. If not, then this will be the go-to for the S level in terms of my recommended light bearers. Now for the other characters for the A level side, a lot of these A level characters, they are obviously pretty underpowered, but specifically for this season right now, we have the factional talent. So other than Corinne and Sinbad, what you can do is actually use our dear Lucius in this slot as well. So Lucius was previously recommended, but I think specifically for this season, Lucius is decently good because there's actually a team which runs the light bearer faction Tau and runs Tasi to actually push the AFK stage. So this is the team right here. Right, so we're going to do a preview. So this is one of the teams that are currently being used, and it's pretty meta, especially for the factional talent side. So you need at least one copy of Rowan, obviously, and then having Rowan at a higher tier will allow you to actually survive better because one copy is really frail. So if you only have him at one copy, sometimes certain stages you just get one hitter and then you can't do much with Rowan. So getting like that early copy from the S level wishlist is okay as well if you want to push through your stages a little bit faster. And then for the other units, because you need 3 light bearers, right? Meryl's not that good of a unit for the pushing side. Neither is Corinne. Corinne is okay for bossing but not for pushing. So Lucius comes in as the frontliner that you can use to sort of tank damage, and then you can use Tamasia, or you can use Walker, or you can use Sinbad in the very last slot and put in a healer, for example like Hewin, for the sustain for the team. So this is the light bearer AFK stage pushing team, and that's why you can actually try to put Lucius into your A level wishlist in case, right, you want to create this team and use it for yourself. So the reason why Corinne is still here is because Corinne, I would say, is way more versatile than Merily right now. Unfortunately for Merily, her utility has fallen off quite a bit, so I've decided to remove her and just put Sinbad into the slot because I think Sinbad generally is more versatile, be it for your AFK stage pushing, for PvP and even bossing. Sinbad is generally usable across the board, so he is one of the must-have from the A level side. And then for the second slot, depending on who you want, I think it's between Faye, Lucius as well as Corinne. So Faye for the same reason, right? For if let's say you don't have Hewin or you're running Hewin in the other slot, then Faye will be the healer for that light bearer team that I talked about, which you can use to help you sustain a little bit better. And these are the users for these units. As for Morale, Valen, they are relatively underused. Walker can still also see use in that specific team as well as the stunner. So specifically for that team, if you want to build it up, right, you need Lucius as the frontliner, obviously. And then if you don't have a healer, you can run Faye. So you have Faye, Lucius, and Rowan, and then you use Tasi and maybe one more character to make up for what you lack for the team. So that's for the light bearer side. I'm gonna put Corinne back. So in most cases, it will be Corinne. And then for Marilee's case, if you haven't get her to Supreme Plus yet, then you can also put her there. But unfortunately, right now, she's just not seeing as much use across the different game modes. So that's why I'm not recommending her for most new players or general players. Now for the Mauler side, I have Shakir right here because most of my units are already developed. So if you haven't developed Smokey, please put Smokey on your wish list. Alright, this unit is pretty much still one of the most omnipotent and most used characters across the different game modes. And if you don't have Mikola, please put Mikola. These two together, they are basically your dream round duo for min-maxing of your damage. And they are also seeing a lot of use in multiple different game modes, from bossing to AFK stage push to like all the different new contents that are about to come. So I would say these two, they are pretty much a must. And if you already have Smokey, then what I would suggest is actually putting in Shakir. So Shakir is a character that synergizes super well with Mikola with the double aura stacking. So this character is also really good for PvP, and he's already coming back for some of the endless dream round bosses. So Shakir will be able to see more use if there's a melee team that's super duper meta, because Shakir is one of the more premium frontliners or like front melee characters that rushes on the front line, soak up some damage while doing damage at the same time. So Shakir, Mikola, as well as Smokey. So Elsa is decently good if you want to focus on PvP, or if you're like myself who want to min-max on your Paragon tiers for more PvP success, then can put Elsa on your wish list. So my previous S levels were Elsa as well as Shakir, because Mikola is a unit that I think doesn't need Paragon tier, because most of the modes where Mikola excels at, they are PvE, so having Paragon tier on Mikola is a little bit wasted. So therefore Elsa and Shakir are the units for me, but for most of you guys it will be Mikola as well as Smokey. Okay, so now we're gonna put it back in case I forget later on. So for the other A level characters, so Odie, by now I think most of you guys should have him at the S tier. So I mean Supreme Plus tier. So for me, he's still inside here because my goal is to finish him up all the way to Paragon tier, because Odie as a character is always going to be useful, be it PvE or PvP, be it bossing, be it like whatever content there is. He is still really useful now, and him at Paragon 4 is going to make him super duper good for the PvP side, because then he will be able to do a lot more damage and then insta kill people much faster. That's why I kept him here. But if you already have him at Supreme Plus and you are somebody who's lower on resources, then what you can do is actually switching our dear Odie out for Kruger, preparing for future melee team synergies for the debuff potential on Kruger. So Kruger doesn't need that much of a tier, but having sufficient tier for Kruger to survive long enough for him to actually get his debuff and a little bit damage off is actually a decent choice, right? If not, Odie and Coco will be the two units that will be on most people's list. So Coco obviously being really omnipotent across the board, but Odie is a unit which has been recommended since the start for many people. So by now, if you really have Odie invested and you don't intend to push him to the Paragon tier, then switching him out for Anthendra also okay. Anthendra sees some very niche users for certain stages. I'll say even Satrana is also okay. Very niche use, but still see some use. So that is if you want to bring every other Mauler A level to the Supreme Plus tier, right? If you are like me, then you're just going to put Odie and Coco here. Just get both of them up to the Paragon tier, because they are insanely good across the board and they are very good for PP as well. So that's my A level Maulers here. For the Wilder side, without a doubt, it's Iron as well as Lily May. For those of you guys who haven't had a developed Iron yet, so please get Iron and Lily May. These two, they are just like two of the strongest characters in the game. But for me, my Iron's a Paragon 3 already, so very stacked up. So my current goal is to get Floribel to Supreme Plus, and because we don't get access to Floribel outside of the gacha pool itself, therefore I have to slot her into the wish list to get multiple copies of her to get to Supreme Plus. So that's for Floribel, one of the only units which I don't have at Supreme Plus, therefore she's inside my wish list. And then for the A level side, A level you have a lot of choice. I think for the A level side, I think a combination of Arden with Damien, or Damien with Almas, or Arden with Almas is okay. These 3 units, I'll say they go in a package together with Iron for a lot of the burst team potential. But for Damien's case, you can actually substitute Damien with the other healers, Smokey as well as Mikola. So in terms of like general contents itself, Damien is also not as, I'll say, like useful as compared to Smokey and Mikola. So let's say if you have these 2 units in your wish list and you think that you don't need Damien, then go for Almas as well as Arden, because Almas together with Iron will give you that Iron Almas control, and then you have your heals from the other class, and in Arden you have that very quick burst for your wildest team combination itself. So now I'm putting Damien in because I also want to bring Damien to Paragon 4 for PvP purposes. But I think other units like Ilenya for physical team is decent. Units like Parisa from time to time see some use as well. Laika, but I don't think Laika needs a high tier to work. So Laika and Kafra are probably the 2 units you don't want to be in your wish list, even if you have every other unit in S+. So Laika is Supreme Plus for me because she's one of my earliest unit to S+ when I first started the game. But after that, I haven't used her for quite a bit. So yeah, she's just there as Supreme Plus. So next, lastly, let's talk about the Graveborn side. So for the Graveborn side, Torrent and Carolina will always be my top pick because Carolina has always been a really, really useful character for me for the control side for your AFK stage pushing as well as certain PvP matchups. This character scales really, really well the more tiers you have on her. So you would want her to be at least Supreme Plus for her max potential, for her control as well as the maximum damage output. And then Torrent needs no explanation, one of the stronger Graveborn characters to be released from the start till now, still one of the better tanks. So if you don't have other better tank option, then Torrent is the way to go. If not, right, if you have Torrent Supreme Plus and you don't want to develop him further, Ludovic is okay. And right, even Nara is actually quite a decent option. So as much as Nara is a character that doesn't see that much use outside of PvP, right now there's actually a team, the Smoky team, that relies on Nara to pull your character in. So Nara is not used as the sniper nor the carry, she's used as the repositioning character. So her in combination with, let me just showcase the team to you guys. So Nara in combination with the Smoky team, right? So right here. Okay, so basically it's this team, right? But you replace our dear Talin with Nara. So what will happen is you use Nara together with the Smoky team. So you pull your enemies in and then you use this artifact known as the binding spell to further bring the rearmost ally to the unit that you put in. So this will reposition them and then bring them closer to the Smoky ultimate. And then you can use the other slots for the sustain and healer for you to cycle through Smoky's ultimate as fast as possible. So that's why this is the team for Nara. So Nara, Ludovic, Torrent as well as Carolina, they are all okay, but personally top tier will be these 2 because Nara don't need that many copies to work for that team. You can use her at 1 copy and she will still work because her role is to just pull the units in. Obviously having better tiers on her will allow you to use her on PvP, but if you're using her for that purpose I mentioned, you don't even need that many copies. So you can just put Ludovic Carolina, Torrent Carolina, or Ludovic Torrent, depending on what you see fit. Okay, so for me it's Torrent and Carolina because I want to bring my Torrent to Paragon 4. And then for the A level side, for me it will still be Vaporeon and Sylvina. If you have them at Supreme Plus, I think you can remove one of them and then put in Niru and Celezo to complete your collection. But these 2 characters, they are generally the stronger PvP characters that you can use for the Graveborn side, although Graveborn now seems to be the pretty underpowered class. But we will see what Hodgkin can do for this class and see whether or not Hodgkin will actually change out the Graveborn wishlist moving forward. So this is the general wishlist. I'm going to switch to the generic one so that most of you guys who are here to sort of just copy paste can actually just take a screenshot. So this will be the generic team setup or the wishlist setup. Okay, so take a screenshot, take a quick glimpse what are the units on the board. If you're new to the game, these are the characters that you want. For the 5 best characters, I'm just gonna put it here. Lily May number 1 for sure, right? Iron number 2 for sure. Wait, let me just reposition them. Okay, so Iron, Lily May for sure, Smokey number 3 for sure, Mikola number 4, and for the very last slot, depending on what you need, right? Let's say if you need more PvP power, I'll say Shakir or even Vala. depending on which one you see fit. I think Shakir is generally better in my honest take. But if you're somebody who's into bossing, right? Bossing wise, I think Cassidy, even though she can be obtained from the shop, you want to build her up as fast as possible, is also okay. Elsa's also a decent unit that comes in and out from time to time, and Elsa's a unit that's good for your general PvP contents as well. So goes really well with Iron Armor's Burst. You can definitely use her. So this will be my recommended, right, for most people. I'll say these are the top 5 generally insanely powerful or generally versatile character that can see use from time to time. So this is it, pretty much it for the wishlist update for this month. I'll say the only massive changes would be to the light bearer side, where Sinbad is included, and for the second slot you can actually consider Lucius in the place of the Corinne and Merrily duo from the past. And for the Mauler side, Shakir in the start of the season wasn't so spectacular, but as we close into the end of the season, Shakir has become even more prevalent. So if you have already completed Smokey and Mikola to Supreme Plus, Shakir is a decent third option for the S level class. So that's it for this video. Thank you very much for tuning in. Do remember to like and subscribe to see more. See you guys again in my next video. Bye guys.